I was a kid in elementary school in the 80s. It was all about Pluto.
Yep.
Like how it was Pluto. It was so cool. Y'all took that from me.
Yeah, I know. It was a tough time in our adult lives where we lost a planet. It was a hard pill to swallow, losing a planet. Like, I get to think about this a lot. I mean, because that's what people get me with all the time. It ended up motivating me to write this book, the book called How to Teach Grown-Ups About Pluto. So, because this is what would happen, would be I give a presentation, I give a talk, and then kids would come up at the end and ask questions and be like, oh man, I'm like, have you heard about this new discovery by James Webb Space Telescope? I'm like, yeah, it's really cool. And have you heard about this eclipse coming? I'm like, yeah, it's really cool. But inevitably, an adult would sidle up and be like, yeah, but Pluto should still be a planet. And so I was like, I need to make a book for the kids to help walk their grown-ups through the trauma of losing the planet.
So, Dean Regas.
Right.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So, Dave gives me the updates about guests that are coming on. Sometimes I'm involved, sometimes I'm not. And when he told me that you were coming on to have a conversation, I selfishly felt like a child.
All right.
I did. And it is astronomy. So, you're an astronomer. You're here in Cincinnati, but there's a lot of things that you're doing. But you're the director of education at the Cincinnati Observatory, an astronomer by trade, by expertise, by whatever we want to call it.
Yep.
But you do a ton of things. But you recently, I like to do all the accolades. You wrote a book. What is it? The 1,000 Interesting Things About Space?
Yeah, there's my latest book is 1,000 Facts About Space through National Geographic. I had one earlier last year called How to Teach Grown-Ups About Pluto.
Which we're going to talk about.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I hope so. I hope so.
And then, but a really cool, the funny thing was, so years ago, I know you've been co-host of a show called Stargazers since you co-hosted or you stepped in 2010 to host a little bit. In 2011, you became a full-time co-host.
Correct.
So, sometime after 2011, it must have been late at night. My late nights at work, I go home, and it happens to be on a PBS channel, and the show Stargazers that you're a co-host of, it's one of the most soothing, relaxing things to have on late at night. So, and it's interesting to me, but it left me more confused because I didn't watch it enough.
Yeah, Stargazers is one of those kind of weird kind of cultural phenomenons that started way back in the late 70s with a guy named Jack Horkheimer, so people might be familiar with that guy with the mustache and toupee and the funny voice and flipping around the solar system. So I went in for just like he passed away. They had some guest hosts, and I just made some calls, and I was like, so what are you guys gonna do? And they said, well, why don't you come try out? And I was like, okay. Sure, Florida. I'll come to Florida in December. That's where they film it at the PBS station down there. And after that, it was just kind of a hit, and I was kind of there for 9 years doing the hosting and co-hosting duties.
Give us your whole takeaway from 9 years of Stargazers.
9 years of Stargazers. Well, I would say my favorite part was writing the episodes. So about half of them I wrote. A lot of them we inherited from Jack Horkheimer, and you could probably tell the difference between the one that Jack wrote and the ones that I wrote. I have a different little sense of humor to things than he did. He was like a kind of quirky, like, well, I shouldn't say I'm different than I'm pretty quirky too. But anyway, he had a different quirk to him than I did. So I take the subject matter pretty lighthearted. Like, it's like I understand what it's like to look up in the stars from a city. And so we want to make things kind of as simple as possible and like pick the really big, bright stuff to get people interested and excited. It was kind of fun seeing the production on a TV show, and I don't think I'm like hurting anybody's feelings, but it was a pretty low production. I mean, there was not a lot of bells and whistles to this thing. It was like me and my co-host James Albury in front of a green screen. We're talking to each other, pretending like we're in space. And then they put the background in later on. It was pretty cool though, just to be able to like be part of the whole process, the writing of it, even some of the editing we were involved in too, just to kind of really, I mean, we really put a lot into it to make it, make it our own.
I wonder if so astronomy to me just seems complicated. And so maybe the low budget, whether it was intended or not, I'm sure if you had millions more for the budget, you would have made it look like $1 million budget.
Yeah.
But maybe the low budget green screen, maybe it made a very complicated subject more simple.
Well, you might be right. I mean, if you see these two guys with their bad shirts on stand next to each other and their unfitting pants and all, like we didn't have a wardrobe budget. So they're just like, yeah, wait, if these two yahoos can do it, then maybe I can too. And if that's what came across, we'll take it. Yeah. That would be nice if they were doing that intentionally. But
you just didn't have any money.
No, but
it's resourceful. Isn't that awesome? Like,
yeah, but it goes to like kind of what I feel like, like my kind of like contribution to this is that I have like lots of nicknames of the people like that run into me. They're like, oh yeah, you're like the people's astronomer, and like, you're like down to earth with people, and that's what I really want to be, is somebody that like is not so up in the stars and can communicate. And it's a difficult skill, because a lot of the best astronomers, the smartest people in the world, way smarter than me, they can struggle talking and writing. And I think that's like what I try to do, is try to be like kind of the intermediary. And if a smarter astronomer can't explain it well enough to me, then I'm not going to explain it to you. Like, I'm going to like stick to the stuff that like really like makes sense to me too.
So when you say, someone's smarter than you, I don't comprehend that.
Yeah, I'm saying that to be nice to them.
Is that just you show? Is it humility? What is that?
Well, so there's different. So what I've learned with astronomy is everybody has their specialty. So nobody knows everything about everything. There's certain parts of astronomers, and there's two distinct types of astronomers. There's the observational astronomers, which is what I am, is somebody that takes data, observes the night sky, uses equipment, takes that stuff. And then there's the theoretical astronomers, who either take the data or just like sit around and like talk about stuff and like, hey, what do you guys think about this? What if we do it this way? What if there's like a parallel universe with another thing? And like, so there's a big rift, not a rift, but a friendly rivalry between the two. So whenever anybody's like, oh yeah, I'm a theoretical astronomer, then I'm like, okay, there's a semi-roll of my eyes. Like, yeah, all right, well, we'll get you some information so you can improve your stuff.
So you deal in what you feel are the known facts.
Yes.
And they're trying to create new theory, possibly.
Yes. And so there's definitely a good thing to have both of those. Yeah. And there's no doubt about that. And so I would say it's more like, I'm kind of like providing, or, the observational astronomers are providing the evidence. Mm-hmm. And then what can you make of that? What's your best, what is this telling other people? That's what it goes to. So I don't know if I would say, I always say that the theoretical astronomers are smarter than me. That's usually the category I put in the smarter than me.
Yeah, you should.
It's not necessarily like
because if we
don't take that as a complete compliment, theoretical astronomers.
Because if we talked about, what do you think? We're going to talk about everything astronomy that we can, as long as you'll sit here and talk to us. But I'll jump around at times too about when a lot of human beings say, "Well, I'm not as smart as them." What do we mean when we say that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good point. It's kind of a throwaway line that I usually give. I'll be honest.
Yeah, because
this is where it gets to. There is a level of astronomy for me. The tricky part is that I'm not a classically trained astronomer, and so I didn't study astronomy in school. I didn't study astronomy in college. I went to Xavier University, got a history degree in secondary education. So I was going to be a high school history teacher coming out of college. Did my student teaching and very quickly figured out, I don't want to be a high school history teacher. This is not, I got to get up too early, underappreciated, underpaid, not ready for that at a 22-year-old level. And that's what's so interesting is like people that start in teaching. I mean, just imagine a 22-year-old, like you're fresh out of college and like, okay, here's your class with 30 kids. Go for it. Like it's overwhelming. It was one of the most rewarding things I ever did, was doing student teaching and being in the classroom. Like the effect that you have on the students is second to none. Like I have not had a similar thing like that since then. It was just too much for a 22-year-old. I just couldn't do it. So I did odd jobs. I did nature education for the Cincinnati parks. And at one of the parks, they had a planetarium. This is in Burnett Woods and by UC, one of the Cincinnati parks. And the planetarium there in that little building at the end of the lake. And I said, Dean, there's the planetarium. You're running it. First show's next week. See ya.
Good luck.
Good luck. And I knew nothing. I never took an astronomy class. I didn't know where the North Star was. I didn't know anything. But, doing nature education, you get thrown into these things. Like, all right, last week I would have had to talk about geology and birds and that kind of stuff. So I had to learn all this stuff pretty quickly. And it just happened. Like I'm under the dome and I can see this so clearly in my mind that the lights go up on the ceiling. And it was just like this moment, like it was just like, this is so cool. This is like, what? This is what I was born to do. Like I knew it within 30 seconds of what was going on. I was like, oh man, I'm getting into this. Like that's for sure. And so I dove in and learned all that I could. And so I was working at this planetarium for a few years, volunteering at the Cincinnati Observatory. And then they hired me on as their educator basically in 2000. So with very little knowledge, like, I mean, I was still pretty fresh in this field. And so for the first couple years, it felt like, and maybe some people can relate to this, like, I felt like an imposter in this field. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm an astronomer, but am I really an astronomer? Like, did I pay my dues? Did I learn?
Am I good enough to be here?
Yeah. And so I definitely had that, kind of insecurity, I'd say, for the first 5 years of working there, just thinking like, there's people that know this stuff and they've been into this. And I'm just like, I'm like kind of here testing out. And we'd even say that when we did the Stargazers TV show, is like, we play astronomers on TV, but like,
are we?
Yeah. And so there was a moment where I was talking to these other folks that were in the planetarium field and other educators that do astronomy. And I went up to one of them, like had done it for 30 years or something like that. And I said, like, you were talking about like, how, your background on this was not in astronomy, not traditional. And I was like, this is a weird thing to say, but like, are we astronomers? And he said, Dean, I mean, what are you getting paid to do? You're getting paid to do astronomy. You're an astronomer.
How cool was that?
And I was like,
was that a moment?
Yeah.
Was that a moment that you're really like, this is okay?
Yeah, well, because everybody has their own story of how they get into this, and and then I kind of took it as kind of my background, I think, is a plus into what I'm doing with it, because I know what it was like that first day in the planetarium, knowing nothing. I mean, zip. I knew nothing, and that's what most of the audience that I'm talking to, they know very little. They're and so I try to make it like, this is my story of how I found this. And I think it's a powerful thing. I think people can like relate to it, whether they like astronomy or they have something else in their lives that's similar. That's what I try to push people to, is like, when you find something that resonates with you, yeah, you will know it.
But you went all in.
I went all in.
Right?
I went all in. Yeah. I mean, it was pretty much right away. And so it was... Yeah, somewhere around 2000. So I was working at the observatory 2000. Then around 2003, that was the last chance that I probably could have gotten out of the astronomy biz. I was like, I don't know, is this what I want to do? And we had the it was the opposition of Mars. This was the moment when Mars was closest to Earth for 60,000 years or something like that. Which is, it's to astronomers like, yeah, okay, yeah, I mean, it'll be back again. But won't be 60,000, but we'll see it almost the same place. And then the media attention behind it came out. Like, people were like, oh my God, this is the closest it'll be. We got to get to see this. And what I found was that the media was like, okay, well, we got to go ask some people about this. Who are we going to ask? I guess we'll ask Dean at the observatory. And this is where it kind of started, as like, the media saw it was like the next stage of my job was that I became like the go-to person because I could like break down, okay, what was really going on with this Mars thing? What else is really cool coming up? And that providing the media like little sound bites, but the right amount of data, the right amount of information, right amount of excitement. And there was a guy that was interviewing me, and this is a common thing that I get, and I love when this happens, is an interviewer comes in and they're like expecting me, okay, I'm going to be Mr. Scientist. I'm going to answer your questions. And he's, you know, they're ready for dead air or me going off on tangents. And I come in, I'm like, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to look like. This is some funny anecdotes to go with it. This is all this. And at the end, I get this so often, like we go off air, the interviewer is like, wow, that was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And I was like, I don't take that as a bad thing. And, and one guy who said after an interview, he's like, you know, I thought this was going to be boring, but you sound like, you don't sound like a scientist. You sound like a car salesman or a game show host. I was like, thank you very much. Yeah,
You're like, this is good. I got some personality happening.
Yeah. And so I think that was the moment after that Mars thing. I was like, you know, this is another element of my job, which I would have never thought would have been part of it, but I think is really important. And it's like, it was like that year is like when I kind of became the astronomer to the city of Cincinnati, which is a weird, almost like Renaissance like type of era of a position, which, you know, is as a fan of history, it's kind of a fun kind of thing. But yeah, what does that mean being the astronomer to a city?
Well,
it's a weird thing.
I don't know. I think there's more messages and lessons in there that we probably have the time to go into about everyone's job. You touched on it, right? And so, have you ever read, I don't know if you're a reader, but Malcolm Gladwell's book, 10,000 Hours?
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here thinking about that, and I just hear this same theme in all of our lives over and over and over. And if you probably worked more than 40 hours a week. You were all in.
Yeah.
Because your work probably extended to home and computers and reading. But 40 hours a week each year, it's a couple thousand hours. So after 5 years, and the argument is that I guess we're proficient at 10,000 hours.
Yep.
And maybe that's when it slows down. And then you can really go all in, and you can probably take it to another level. And my argument is, hey, at least get there.
Yeah.
Like, get to that moment to make the decision. And maybe 2003 was, maybe that was your 10,000 hours.
Yeah, it was in there, that's for sure. And it was a little like, and people noticed. That's the thing, is like, so I would do these programs for schools like back in 2001 or something like that, and then maybe years would go by, and then I'd go back to their class like years later, and so many teachers like after that later talk would be like, man, what happened to you? I was like, what do you mean? It's like, you're just like so relaxed. You're just like at this, like, you're like at peace, but like so relaxed, but so relatable to the students, so relatable to classes. And I think that was, when I hear that, I do firmly believe in that. There's like this tipping point you get to where you're secure of yourself and your own skin, your own knowledge, your own expertise, and what you want to do. And I think it was like that 10,000 hours moment. Because I was, I just had my 25th anniversary. So I gave a planetarium show at the old planetarium last week on my 25th anniversary of my first show, which was a little weird. I was like, oh man, first the machine was broken when I first got there, so I had to fix it. But anyway, or I had to get some people to help me fix it. But then it worked, and it was like, just going back to the same kind of thing. And it was, it was just amazing to see like how far I've gone in that. And I would have never pictured like this is what I would end up doing. But I think there's a second part about this that I don't know if Malcolm Gladwell wrote this part, is that so once you're past that 10,000, then there's there's one more pitfall you have to go through, and that is like being complacent and starting to get sick of what you're doing. And the good news is I have not gotten to that point. And I really figured out what it was this past year, actually. It was like this revelation. Man, you're getting into some deep stuff.
That's what we do.
It's like, okay, so I've been doing this 24 years. I'm still genuinely into it. Like, I'm as into it now as I was 24 years ago. Like, we had this program, and we had like a couple hundred people at the observatory, and it was partly cloudy, so it was like not great viewing. But I'm like talking to some people where I'm supposed to do a program, and then people are kind of standing around, and then I see this break in the clouds. I'm like, let's get a telescope out there right now. And so like and I'm like, you kids, parents, grab a telescope. So we grab this telescope, we run off into the side where the clear sky will be, and we aim the telescope while there. And it's like, I'm like, look at this. And I'm like, just like the kids, they're like, whoa. And I'm like, whoa. I mean, it's like, and I stepped back from that, and I was like, wait a second. Is that what an adult should be doing? Like, I'm a grown up of some sort, and I'm still like geeking out over like showing like I've seen the moon a zillion times, but yet I still wanted to like share it with other people. So as long as I still have that genuineness to it, that's so I think maybe I need to, either Malcolm Gladwell wrote this and I didn't see it, but
maybe it's your book.
The After the 10,000 Hours. There's
something.
Yeah.
And so I guess it tests you. It's fascinating. I just mentioned beforehand, I just got back flew in from New York City a couple hours ago, and I was there for, your world of astronomy, my boring world of real estate sales. But it was a conference of probably what we would call the biggest hitters in the industry. Yeah. And if you're going to have it new, these people you see on TV and $1 million listing, but it was people you don't know about that are at the top of the game. And I had some, you have these sidebars all the time in breakouts. It was a conference for 4 days. That's a lot of information. And I brought that book up. I was talking about the same time of conversation. I haven't read it for years. But I said, you know what the special thing is? It's at 20,000 hours.
Oh, really? What happens at 20,000 hours?
What happens is, I said, I think there's these segments of these 10,000 hours, because it's also another book called The Compound Effect. And it's not just doubling. Mm-hmm. It's not just learning everything again. It's like 3 and 4 and 5x. It's then you comprehend the business, you're comfortable, you understand the basics, and now what you're capable of. And that continues to stack. And what you're doing, how you're staying passionate, and how you're still transferring that excitement so generations after you're doing things for them that no one ever did for you, mm-hmm. and you're shortening the learning curve, and you might inspire some of those little kids in a way and give them the thing that you know. So I think, and then what I said, guys, I think my whole passion in life, like mine personally, I'm sure I'll be more intelligent and smarter in 5 years, but it seems like when I get to the end of my life, if I get to live a long natural life, if I'm fortunate enough, if we have moments, if it's not like just an instant death, we're going deep.
Yeah.
And I have thought, hopefully it's not some long illness, but if you just know, and if you know for 2 or 3 weeks, like, hey, this is the end, you're probably going to reflect on your life. I think that's what will happen to me if that's how I get to live and leave this earth. I think the only regrets I would have, the real ones, are probably the things I didn't do or really didn't go all in and really try to do my best. Because I think inside of ourselves, we know. We're not tell her, if you gave it your all.
Yeah.
If there was more you could have done in your 25 and 30. So with that, me hearing that from you, you still got another, you'll do this rest of your life.
I probably, that's what I'm thinking is, as long as I can keep this kind of like passion for it, I think that's the thing. And, because that's what I look for in other people, this genuineness. Mm-hmm. Like, do you really, like, are you doing this because you really want to, or are you doing this for other reasons? And I do see, like, with, other people in my field, like Neil deGrasse Tyson is a genuine, like, into this. Like, yep. You can tell, like, he's like that. I don't know. I'm not convinced that Bill Nye is. And that's why I never, like, when he was around and he was at his heyday, he was like a great popularizer. He was great into it, but there was some part of it I wasn't quite sure if he was in all the way. And Neil deGrasse Tyson definitely is.
Is he a theoretical?
Neil is. Yeah, he's more theoretical than he's gone over to our side a little bit, but that's the only thing. Once he goes off on those tangents, I'm like, Neil, that's fine.
Rein it back in, right?
Yeah.
Relate to us here. We're laymen.
That's right.
So you think so what do you value about somebody being genuine?
I think it's that you can tell their motivations, what they're really interested. There's like an ego part is put aside. It's really about the audience. You can tell that they want the audience to go on this journey that you've gone on and to go there with you. You think of like Jack Hanna from the Columbus Zoo. I have no doubt that all he does is, go home and sleep and think about animals. That's all he does. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Thane Maynard at Cincinnati Zoo, very similar kind of situation. You see these people in public life, and it's really rare, though. It really is rare. And because if I go to hear astronomy talk, and I can see it, it's a hard thing to put your finger on, but there's certain things that you say, like, okay, this person's, they're doing this because they gotta do a talk, but they're not like really into it.
So is it important that we're genuine so that other people value us and listen to us?
Well, for me, it is. I think it's like important for me. I think it makes the message go better. It makes it more infectious. It makes it more. I think it drives people to certain actions that to look at that in their own lives too. And I think that there's certain things that,
like I believe, like being genuine,
Yeah.
I really feel in all of us, even if there's someone listening to this that knows they're not a genuine person, they still appreciate genuine people.
Yeah.
Right? So there's something
Right.
about that characteristic that we do appreciate. And it's almost like if you would say, hey, do you like somebody who's honest or somebody that lies?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
we like somebody who's honest.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Well, most of us have told a white lie, so it's like we got to deal with that.
right.
But so there is something sincere about being genuine. And we like
yeah.
that. We like that humans are that way.
Yeah, I think so. I think it comes across, and it's one of those things where like, it's what you want to put your time to, what and for me, there's not, I always kind of joke with people and say astronomy is my lifestyle, not my job, and no, I'm not going to say it on the radio.
Okay, so maybe we'll say it later.
No, I was going to say it on the radio. It's like, I do my job for free, but don't listen to that.
You're making money.
Keep paying me. So
yeah, keep doing it. But I think if your entire life, it's your lifestyle.
Right.
It's what you do.
Yep.
You're not looking for. There's an argument out there. I won't make you go there because it's very controversial about balance.
Oh no, we can talk about it. Yeah. Well,
Right. Okay. So there's a lot of opinions, and that's what so many things are in life. Like I wish we would just be honest about when things are opinions. And so this thing about should there be a work-life balance, and what is that? And that's been reframed by some very financially successful people in this world. I don't always agree with everything a Richard Branson or an Elon Musk or a Jeff Bezos and what those guys say, but Bezos said this really well, that really successful people, and it doesn't have to be financially successful. Astronomer, could be a real estate salesperson, you could be a highly successful nurse. But he said, you can't look for when one starts and the other one ends. If you're looking for that balance, they both have to exist together. That's how my life is. And I look at so many people who are successful in their field, and they don't shut it off at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your opinion is about this balance.
No, I think that it's tough. It's different for everybody. There's a very gray area between my work time and my off time. And so, vacation times are, I go out to see other observatories. I go out to go eclipse chasing, going to some exotic places as excuses to travel, but to see eclipses. So it's
which makes you so much better in your career.
It does. It's true, because it just you get these experiences, you get these things that as part of the history of astronomy and astronomers. I have this real great respect for all the people that came before me and how they did this stuff, and I kind of see myself as a little bit of a throwback astronomer and hear about the people at Cincinnati Observatory making expeditions out west in the 1800s to go see eclipses. And I kind of tackle it in the same kind of fashion as like, I'm going to load up all the equipment. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to drive my car, but still go on out there. and it's that kind of connection with history plus the universe. Yeah, it's really amazing. And so what I've found is there's a general thing with astronomers is they're generally like this. Out of any scientists, they really are like, I mean, this is what they talk about. This, whether you're an amateur or professional astronomer, amateur astronomers talk just as much as professional astronomers, and are just as good in a lot of ways. But I've figured that as long as I can keep this going, I I don't know if I've told other people. I've told friends about this, but I've decided that I'm going to live to be 105 years old. And the reason why that is because there's 3 eclipses in the 2070s that I'm going to see. And people like kind of, yeah, 105. Okay, great. But I'm a very determined person. And when I get it in my head, eclipse chasing, I got something to look forward to. These are dates in the mind. 2077. I'm going to live to be until 2077.
What's the date of the 3rd eclipse?
Mid-May 2077.
So June 1st, we can go ahead.
June 1st.
We can schedule the casket. We can dig the hole.
And
we can schedule the crematorium.
And knowing my sense of humor, as long as I'm still mentally competent enough,
you'll make it happen.
It'll be in the will, and I'll be dead June 1st.
That'll be a good wife, though, right? Wife well lived.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think is yeah, I'm sure things are going to come in the way and get in the way of that, but I got that. And I think that is important to have goals, like whether it's something like that, but eclipses are like super, have things to live for, have things to see.
So when you said you're determined,
yeah,
does competitiveness go with that?
No. So that's the thing, is I'm not competitive with other astronomers or other people because the universe is big enough for everybody. And I'm just doing this, because this is what I want to do. I mean, like, whether I'm a better astronomer than other people, I don't know.
Are you competitive with yourself, though?
Yeah. yeah, very much so. So, like, I think about, like, when I do about 150 astronomy talks a year or so, and not one of them goes by where I don't sit back and think about, all right, how did that work? Got to change that one little part, or that part worked real well. But it's internal, and that's the thing. And while I welcome other feedback and other outside input, there's something inside of me that like is the not the harshest critic, because that's not right. I'm very internally supportive, but it's more of, there is the drive to do a good job.
You want to strive to get better every day, man.
Yeah.
Every time, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a competitive spirit.
Yeah.
There's these shared personality traits that successful people have. And you just see them time after time after time. And I don't care what we're doing, what we choose to do with our life. If you have those characteristics, some of those attributes, you're going to make impacts in people's lives, and that's special. What is so significant about an eclipse? You just said you want to live to 105 for 3 eclipses. You didn't say to see Elon terraform Mars. We didn't say to, like, do you know, you guys, like, you took my soul when you said Pluto wasn't a planet. Okay, so there's these things.
Yeah.
So what about, what is it about eclipses? What about those 3?
Man, it's a total solar eclipse is the most unbelievable moment that you can ever imagine experiencing. You're outside, sunny day, all of a sudden, moon covers over the entire sun. This shadow sweeps across the land. Like, it just goes whoosh. You can almost hear the whoosh as it goes across. The birds stop singing. The crickets start chirping because it's nighttime, basically. People just lose all control of their auditory. I mean, they just start screaming or like, oh my, what? And so all this is going on. And then you look up, the stars are up there in the sky. You look up where the sun was, it's gone. It's like a perfect circle with these wispy corona around the edge of the sun. And it just lasts just a few seconds, like just, a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. That's it. And then bang, the sun comes right back out, and it's like, what just happened? Was this what it's like? It's almost like you're in a simulation as to what's happening here. The sky just looks so weird, and it's for such a short period of time, and you have to travel to this exact place at the exact time that's predicted down to the exact second, and you think you know what it's going to be like, and you think you know what you're going to do under it, but you can't. People go temporarily crazy under this, and I've only seen that twice. And there's a lot of people out there who've seen dozen or 15 or 16 of them. So it is it's the ultimate thing. And so if I'm gonna pick one thing that I'm gonna look forward to, it's that. And there's another part about it too, is that it's gonna happen. We know it's gonna happen. There's nothing that's gonna stop it happening. Not even Elon Musk's going to stop it happening. I like that kind of certainty kind of thing. And it's a guaranteed cool show. So for people listening, April 8th, 2024, that's the next total coming through Ohio even. So we don't have to drive very far from the Cincinnati area. Just go up to Dayton, Indianapolis, North Columbus, Cleveland up there even. Mark your calendar, April 8th, 2024, take off work, take off school, play hooky. I'll write you a note, whatever we need. Nobody's going to work that day where I am.
That's awesome. I was sitting here thinking about that moment. It's fascinating that you've convinced yourself that living the next 60 years, who knows what we're going to experience on this earth over the next 60 years. It's fascinating every couple years what changes and what happens. But you want to live, it's your passion to live 60 years just to experience a few seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is a very valid question, a very valid comment. And that's, when I show like images to this, like for kids, like my first total eclipse, I went to Greece, like it was in the Mediterranean Sea, and you have to fly all the way out there. You got to get on a boat. You got to go out to there and everything like that. And I just remember like showing the pictures and showing the videos to kids. And it's interesting because certain kids are like really into travel, and a lot of kids are not into travel. They kind of think it's like kind of scary. Yeah. Going out of the city and going out of the state. For me, it's always been a natural thing. Like I'm a traveler in general. One of the kids, he was like, wait, so you went all that way for like 3 minutes and 51 seconds? I was like, yeah. And he's like, I can't get that. I don't understand that whatsoever.
To you, it's like, why wouldn't I?
Well, I know. And so that's when we had this eclipse, the last total was in 2017. And it, in my world, that's the Super Bowl of everything. And so to me, in my narrow view, everybody was talking about the eclipse and everybody went to the eclipse, which, I'm sure didn't happen. But so many people got to see that across the country because it was clear for most of the view for that eclipse. And there's a good number of population in the United States that like remember where they were that day. It was almost like the Apollo, the moon landing, how it inspired a generation, and how we kind of delved into science a little more. I think that eclipse was like it's going to have a ripple effect. I think that the kids that saw that, and even some adults saw that, I think are gonna, it's part of their makeup. And it what's so cool about those eclipses is it's visible to everybody. You don't need a telescope. You just have to be in that place at that time and look up and see it. So all I can say is, April 8th, 2024, do it. We'll talk afterwards. We'll grab a Corona afterwards and talk about it. And it'll be awesome.
Cool. What the other thing that was going through my mind as you're explaining, the moon going in front of the sun, and for a few seconds it's a full eclipse and the Corona around. What do you think the earliest humans thought when that happened?
Yeah, I mean, it had to have been frightening. I mean, because you don't know, you're not expecting this, so. And it's so rare. Nobody would have seen probably two in their lifetime. It'd be really, I shouldn't say that, but it'd be very, very few people would have seen two of them. So, anybody that sees one is probably going to see just one. And you look up and the sun's gone, and you just got to think, this is the end of the world. This is it. There's nothing has prepared me for what this is happening. Nobody's explained what's happening. And the only thing that's the saving grace is that it only happens for a few minutes. And so if this would happen for a day, I mean, I don't know what people would do. I mean, start like
jumping off cliffs, right?
Just lighting stuff on fire, probably to scare away the darkness. And there's a really great sci-fi book called Nightfall, which talks about a culture that has multiple suns in the sky. And so civilization, so the astronomers predict all the suns are going to set at one time, which had never happened before. And so they're going to experience darkness. And what's going to happen to the people when they see darkness for the first time? Spoiler, it's not good.
I was going to say, this can't be a good thing.
It's not good.
Right?
But get Nightfall. It's there's a short version and a longer version. Both of them are good.
So I mentioned earlier about terraforming Mars. Is this going to happen?
I don't know. That's a tough one.
And explain what that is.
So, yeah, the idea is that Mars can be made habitable. It's the most Earth-like place in the solar system that we know of. But that's going pretty far to say that. So the idea is that you can heat up the atmosphere, heat up the planet of Mars enough to create an atmosphere and pump into this kind of thing where it can make an atmosphere similar to Earth's. And the idea is heat is the main element. So you put in some heat, and it might take a long time, might take 50 years, 100 years, but eventually we can do it. I am not a proponent of that. And there's a few reasons, and this is where I will go to that well where I said some people are smarter than me. And I will go to say that Stephen Hawking is one of those,
physicist.
He was a proposer of the Mars, that we have to have Mars as our escape plan. So if Earth goes downhill really bad, we need a second planet to go to. And so I will preface this by saying Stephen Hawking was way smarter than me in almost everything that he's ever said. But in that one, he is so far off, it's not even close. Because the amount of time and energy we would have to do to make Mars livable is a fraction of the amount of energy we could use to keep our planet livable. I mean, it's not even close. And I joke, and I kind of start this off as I remember saying this to a group, and so I can't claim the joke myself. Somebody commented this, and I said, the best place on Mars with the best temperature, the best amount of water, is still way worse than the worst possible place on this planet. Like, there is no place on this planet that is worse than Mars.
The hottest desert.
Deepest ocean.
The coldest Arctic Circle.
There's no place on Mars that is better than our worst place. And so somebody in the audience said, like, even Cleveland? I was like, yeah, even Cleveland. Sorry, Cleveland. I didn't say it. Somebody else did.
You got to come up with another city. We're from Ohio. You're from Ohio.
Yeah, it's all
You're
right.
a Columbus guy.
They're so far up there. We're in two different worlds.
Do you think, okay, so take the terraforming out. Do you think it's a good idea to go and explore Mars and for humans to land? And because that's going to be possible, right? They're going to figure this out.
Yeah, I do. But I have a very, and maybe this is the, I'm a very optimistic guy when it comes to astronomy and exploration of space, but I'm not very optimistic on settlement. That's the thing, is that, this idea of like, maybe we'll have a moon base someday and maybe we'll have a Mars base. I don't think it's, what we found is space travel is really exceptionally difficult and exceptionally dangerous. Can you go into that a little bit without going, like, why is it that difficult and why that dangerous? Well, so like, we haven't been to the moon in 50 years. So nobody's set foot on the moon in 50 years. And so why is that? That's because number one, it's really expensive. Number two, it's really dangerous. And number three, the returns are not there. I mean, there's no
resources to
bring back, and it's not like you can go do that. And then there's also people talking about mining asteroids, which I think is the most ridiculous thing, because like
we have a lot of Earth still.
So we're gonna need like a couple $1 billion of infrastructure, rockets to fly up to this asteroid, bring back the things at about $10,000 a gram. Yeah, there's no business model for that. And
Right.
so that's why nobody's done it, because there's no business.
Why space travel? We've watched the movies, and I love documentaries and history, so I've watched a lot of the Apollo stuff. I bet a lot of people have. Why is just inherently why is space travel so dangerous?
Yeah, I think this is one of the stories is the Apollo missions, they made it all look easy. But man, they were so close to disaster so many times. And, Apollo 13 was the most, visible thing. But I mean, even Neil Armstrong landing on the moon almost didn't happen. I mean, he was down to like 20 seconds of fuel before he ran out. It is the margin of error is so small that everywhere in space wants to kill you. Any system fails, you're in big trouble. And just to launch off of this planet is really hard. I mean,
so is it about oxygen and gravity? Is that
a lot of oxygen and gravity is a little bit part of it? But the thing that's going to get us with Mars is the travel time. That's the thing, is that being in space for a long period of time is very bad on the body. And we're learning that through the astronauts that spent lots of time up there in the space station. We had the famous experiment with Scott Kelly and his brother. Scott Kelly is, dedicated this. He's basically given his life for this to do this experiment, being a year in space. The jury's out as to what's going to be his fate. Spending a year in space does not seem to be good for you. So when you go to Mars, you're weightless for 7 months for the journey, because it takes 7 months to get there. When you're on Mars, gravity's less, and then you got to get back on the spacecraft 7 more months to come back. So you're gone about 2 years. Nobody's done that. Nobody's been in space 2 years. That part plus the radiation, you're exposed to radiation on a much higher level than you are here on Earth.
Is that just because closer to the sun?
It's because the Earth has this magnetic field around it that blocks out the harmful radiation. So when you're above that, then you're exposed to everything. And there's very few things that NASA can do to limit your radiation exposures. Very, very little. So you got gravity problems, you got radiation problems, then you got your isolation problems. Can you be away from space, from people for 2 years? That one's a less of a problem. And that's one thing, that was one great thing, because I got to interview Scott Kelly when he got back. And really, we had some really good extensive talks and some off-air talks also. And I got the impression, I might be wrong, but I got the impression that he liked being in space better than being on Earth.
I was going to say some people might like this.
Yeah. And because I was like, okay, you just got back from being in space a year. If they offered you a trip to Mars, 2 years round trip, would you do it? And before I finished my sentence, he said, yeah. And I was just like, I couldn't relate because I wouldn't want to do it, but I could tell. And I think there's something about, you got this mission to accomplish. Like you're in this little world up there, and everything is so it's so clear what you have to do. I think that some people like that, and the distractions are gone. It's you in space. I could see the appeal to a certain population.
And there'll be a group when this Mars thing happens. When do you think it'll happen? Do they have to figure out the power piece? Is that really, you think that's the biggest part? Like, what's holding us back from them just trying it?
Yeah, I think it's that they want to get to, and by they I mean the governments that are undertaking this, and some private companies. I think that they are looking for a situation where it's about 90% success rate. Okay. That's what they're looking for. And the big problem is radiation exposure is number one. Are they going to survive the trip? Or are they going to be severely hampered by the time they get there? Are they going to be able to come back? And what that effect has on the rest of us. And it is a fascinating thing when you talk about like space travel and space accidents, how like it, like I think the public feels it too, which is, it's an interesting thing. And so it ends up being some kind of ethical parts to it too, because if the goal is to get to Mars, any means necessary. So there's a small group of people who are saying, well, what if we just have them one-way trips? One-way trip. Don't have to bring them back. They sign off like, okay, this is our life. We've dedicated to this. And if you can send a rescue someday, all right. If not, we'll just pretend like, like explorers in the past that set off to Australia thinking they might never come back again. And
Lewis and Clark, there was no guarantee they were coming back.
Yep. So a
lot of their people died.
Yeah. And so that's the thing, is that, if we were in the 19th century mentality, that'd be no brainer.
No question. Go.
But in the 21st century, it does provide some ethical things. And I don't know what I feel about it. I think it's like, it's tough. It's hard to like just say, yeah, all right, well, you're gone and that's how it's going to be. But I think
there's an argument for a purposeful life.
Well, as far as NASA is concerned, unless something changes in their culture, they will never do a one-way trip. They will never do it. And so the question will be, will somebody else do it? And the main players, the race to Mars is, there's probably a 4-way race. So it's United States, Russia, China, and private companies. Yet to be determined who these private companies are. But that'll be the question, is, so if NASA's ethics is, no, we're not going to do a two-way, or we're not going to do a one-way trip.
There's a country that will.
If a country will, then will we change? So it's as an American, we have a certain worldview.
Yeah.
And so the question would be, is, will we give up on our two-way ethics in exchange for being second? I think I would say Americans would rather be first than take this high road, but I might be wrong. I don't know.
Do you think? So do you think that'll get us close when we have to accept that that may be the possibility, even if there's a two-way plan?
Yeah,
we have to accept that may not be reality when they get there.
Well, that's a good point. Even if we put the two-way plan and something happens, we got to be ready for that. And I think that should be part of any messages. This is not a done deal. That's a really good point. I think, I would be prepared for that kind of situation. Like, this is dicey. We all know it's dicey. There is no rescuing them. They're on their own. But and they could even, I was going to say they could even say like, it's a two-way, but then in the plan it says one-way.
The private company may.
Well, the private companies are they're fine with the one-way. They have like this
sign off.
Yeah, you signed off on it and stuff like that.
Thanks for giving your life.
And that'd be an interesting thing. Like, and I ask myself this kind of stuff too. Like, what would I do for this? Would I do a two-way? Would I do a one-way? I don't know. I like Earth a lot. But I would say if they asked me to do a two-way, I would do it.
With knowing,
I think I would still do it. I don't know.
That's awesome.
I don't know.
Okay, so next time we'll have a conversation. So when you talked to Scott Kelly, what was his very high level 30, 60-second takeaway on the year he spent in space?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm so fascinated by astronauts, like psychology. Like, that's
I want them on my team,
astronauts are, you want them on your side.
Absolutely.
Like, you want them, if things are going down, you want them around. They are smarter than us. They are healthier than us. They are faster than us. They can,
problem solvers, resilience, persistence, all these things.
Yeah, and I did I ask? No, I don't think I asked him directly. I think I asked a NASA administrator once. I said, all right, is it me or astronauts? They're better than us, right? Are they like us or are they better than us? And they're like, they are almost a different species from you and I. I mean, just their drive, their motivation, their they
It's
are
like a total commitment.
Yeah, because they are well-rounded. Yeah. So he struck me as I think his takeaway was that it was I felt like he was a more I'm trying to think of how to put this because I've thought about the conversation I've had with him a lot because I think I read between a lot of lines, so I can't say I saw exactly what was going on, but I tried to break down some barriers and joke around with him a little bit to try to get to some more real answers. And
Is he real intellectual?
No.
He's just a down-to-earth, normal guy, but highly intelligent?
No, it's not that either. I know, it's so weird. You can't like classify him. You say he's another species. He's not down to earth, but he's not up in the clouds. He's very smart, but it's hard.
So he'd do it again. So he'd go to Mars.
Yeah.
If they asked him to go to space, he might do another year. Will he? Was that going to be another part of this? They might say, "Hey, we need you to go back again because we need more research. We need more evidence."
Possible. I don't know. He might be this almost like commodity that they need to have him as he is, like not more. But I don't know.
But he's probably willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, he would do it
to move the idea forward.
I remember, so I kind of I felt like I got on his good side because he, in his autobiography or his book that he wrote, there's a considerable amount of cursing in it. And I was like, we have this idea of astronauts and they're Roger this and doing this and doing a job. But man, they got some potty mouths. And
my production crew I'm seeing them out of the side of my mouth.
Yeah.
There's some of those things known about me, Dean.
Oh, all right. Well, and so like it was a question I tried to throw him off with this one. I was like, so Scott, who's the better cursor, you or the Russians? And he was like, well, I do know every curse word in the Russian language now.
Wow, that was a good way to answer it. Wasn't it?
Yeah, because the Russians and them working up there together is an interesting situation too. But yeah, Russians could curse just as good as Americans, and I think there was like a kind of camaraderie of like that stuff.
He's learning how to be political from his brother.
Yeah. So, but Scott was answering all my normal questions, and I asked him that one. He's just like kind of looks at me a little different. He's like,
and he's thinking, "Dang, he knows. He knows.
He read my book. All right."
So,
but yeah, his takeaway.
Yeah.
Because I did ask him, like, were you changed? Like, did you come back a different person? And he did. He was like seeing the whole world at one time and circling around it every 90 minutes. While you're in this little bubble, it changed you. And I think that's what comes across as astronauts is that they have this new perspective that they can see everybody. They can see everybody that's ever lived on this globe here. And then the other direction, the blackness of space. And that's where I would say like that astronauts probably have a different take on, going to Mars is like, we're not going to Mars as a escape pod. Mars will never be that, or at least not for 1,000 years. Earth is the place. And I think that's what astronauts get is that they get this thing that this is it. We got to make it work here.
You know that feeling, you say you travel a ton,
right?
And you mentioned going to the Greek Isles. That's your heritage.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You know how you feel when you get to come home? Wherever home is. Wonder what that feels like up there. Because their home isn't their home. It's back to Earth.
Yeah, when you think of your home being the entire planet, that's a lot different than flying back into CVG and driving down the cut in the hill and seeing the beautiful skyline of Cincinnati in front of you, which always does get to me. I don't know if it gets to you. I still like that view coming down that hill. But yeah, you come back and your whole planet is your home, and like you're away from that. That's a really good insight. I think it makes you think about the whole picture. And I think that's one thing that I would love. If that'd be one of the other things I'd love to be able to do at some point, is to like kind of have show the scale of the universe, show these things in a way to politicians, to show them that, their districts and their, constituents make up a very small portion of things in the grander scheme of things. There's a powerful message in that. And it's not lost on me as an astronomer. That's for sure.
So I want to get to all sorts of things, but when they occur in my mind. So number one, that you all took Pluto from me.
Yeah. I think it's about time we got to talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. What the hell happened? Because as a kid, so I'm 44 now. So I was a kid in elementary school in the 80s. It was all about Pluto.
Yep.
Like it was Pluto. It was so cool. You all took that from me.
Yeah, I know. It was a tough time in our adult lives where we lost a planet, and I'm right there with you. It was a hard pill to swallow, losing a planet, and then I get to think about this a lot. I mean, because that's what people get me with all the time. And so it ended up motivating me to write this book, the book called How to Teach Grown-Ups About Pluto. So, because this is what would happen would be, I give a presentation, I give a talk, and then kids would come up at the end and ask questions and be like, "Oh man, have you heard about this new discovery by the James Webb Space Telescope?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's really cool." And have you heard about this eclipse coming? I'm like, "Yeah, it's really cool." Because they're at the same mental age as I am. Really, they're into the star stage, because kids go in that star stage, there's the dinosaur stage and there's star stage. And so I want them to stay in that star stage because that's where I am. But inevitably, an adult would sidle up, maybe sometimes even hip check the kid out of the way and be like, "Yeah, but Pluto should still be a planet." And I'm like, what do you... That's rude. I'm talking to the people here. We were talking about Pluto, and you got to come in, bust in, and say this. And so, I think I even once said to a kid, "I'm really sorry about that. I know you're interested in other things." So I was like, I need to make a book for the kids to help walk their grown-ups through the trauma of losing the planet.
And is it true, as you go through this, did you give it back to us?
No, of course not. I'm not going to give you the Pluto. I'm going to give you Pluto back.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm not going to give you as a planet back.
No, but you're giving us. You're making us try to feel like it's still a relevant thing, even though you took the planet away.
Yes.
So you're just calling it a ball of ice or something is all you're doing.
A world. I call it a world.
Oh my gosh. Okay, tell us why you took it away. Why? What happened where we called it a planet?
Yep.
Did we learn something, or did somebody say, no, that's no? What happened?
Yeah, it was, there's this great history to this. So it was discovered in 1930 at the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona. And I will not discount that this was an American discovered planet. There's no doubt that plays into this factor, American planet. You got to, that throws in there. And so when it was discovered, it was thought to be the size of Earth. That was the initial evidence was pointed at that. Then they look at it again a couple years later, maybe Mars size. A couple years later, maybe Mercury size. A couple years later, maybe Moon size. Now we're like, wait, so we started at 8,000 miles in diameter, and now we know it's about 1,400 miles in diameter. So it's about the distance from Cincinnati to Denver. So, all right, so it shrunk down in size. That's okay. It still goes around the sun. Planet seems good. And so that's where it laid in this zone of, okay, it's got a weird size. It's got a weird orbit. It's tilted compared to all the other planets. It gets closer to the sun than Neptune for 20 years. So, by the way, when I was in school, so 1979, 1999, Neptune was farther than Pluto was. I never learned that in school. My teacher never taught me that.
Never taught us that.
It's because it was always Pluto last, but it wasn't. When we were in school, we weren't taught the right thing. But still, astronomers were like, it's still a planet. Let's not, it's a weird planet, but it's a planet. So the real problem happened in the 90s. So our telescopes got better. digital photography came in, CCD cameras started being attached to the telescopes, and they started finding other things out there. So from 1930 to 1992, nothing. They found nothing out there. 1992, these students and the professor, I can't remember which school it was at, but they found this one just like as a fluke or trying to recreate some other experiments, and they found this one. And then a couple dozen are found, then a couple hundred are found.
Planets.
Well, things. Pluto-like objects. So objects that are out in Pluto's orbit, similar compositions, similar orbits, similar origins. So then you're up to a couple thousand of these things. And the astronomers had to make a decision. Like, what are we going to do with these 2,000 things? And so they, some were like, make them all planets, make them all planets, make them all planets. I was like, how am I going to teach the kindergartners the 2,000 planets? This is not going to work, man. This is not going to work. We can't, these are not the same things. So there's a precedence for this too. So for all the legal-minded people out there, here's our precedence that planets have been kicked out of the Planet Club in the past. Lots of them have been kicked out in the past. So we've been through this before. And so I walk through people in the book, all the other planet demotions that have happened. The sun and moon used to be planets 500 years ago. They got kicked out of the Planet Club. Asteroids were discovered in the early 1800s. There was about 37 of them that were temporarily planets. They all got kicked out of the Planet Club 1859. So I say, if you're mad about Pluto, then I know you're equally mad about all the asteroids that were kicked out in 1859, because you should be equally outraged. They were planets. Those poor kids in the 1840s had to get new textbooks.
I'm outraged that my 5th grade science project was building the solar system, and Pluto was that last cool little planet, and you all took it away. That's why I don't care about the asteroids. I don't care about the 2,000 other little things in the sky. I care about, I don't think, it wasn't genuine.
Yeah.
I'm messing with you, man.
I know.
But it's like, what? So I didn't know about these other 2,000 objects.
Right.
Are they similar to Pluto?
Yeah. So this is the process that I went through with this too. And so I included this in the book, which is very unique for a kid's book, but I have the 5 stages of grief illustrated in this.
Have I shown them all here today?
Well, so yeah, you start with denial. So this was the stage that I went through. I was like, no, they can't kick Pluto out of the planet. I won't have it. Then there's, what's number 2? So we got denial. We got, now I can't remember. What's number 2?
We'll get it for you in a minute.
Anyway,
so Jack he'll do the 5 stages of.
All right, look me up.
Yeah, see if you can look that up, Jack.
So I know there's denial. Anger is number 2.
Well, I was angry with denial.
Yeah. So they kind of go together, but anger comes in.
If he doesn't hit it, then tell us.
Yeah, anger's number 2. Bargaining number 3. Bargaining number 3 is
what are we doing with that?
The bargaining would go, okay, let's keep Pluto, and we'll keep some of those new ones, the 2000s, but like maybe the biggest ones. So that's what I said. It was like, okay, all right, we'll keep Pluto, but maybe we need like a size thing. Like if it's Pluto size or bigger, let's call it a planet. So that's the bargaining. So then they found something bigger called Eris. At least they thought it was bigger at the time. We've since found out it's not as big, but they're almost exactly the same. So Pluto and Eris are the same size essentially. So,
is Eris a moon of one of the planets?
No, Eris is its own thing, goes around the sun even farther out than Pluto.
Okay, sorry. All right. So bargaining.
So I went through the bargaining, and then there's the depression. 4th is depression, where you're like, I know they're right, but I still hate it. And then 5, finally.
Now, don't tell me acceptance.
Acceptance is 5.
Oh, that is such BS.
So the idea with the book is to understand, like I went through those 5 stages too. And this is like a natural reaction everybody has to this. And I'm hoping just to move people at least one step over. So if we can get you from anger to bargaining, I'll take that as a step. Because you got to think of like, well, so what's the alternative? So how many planets are we going to have then?
Yeah.
Are we going to have Pluto grandfathered in just because we love it, even though it's not
Can I vote for that? And that's the way I could teach the other 2,000?
Oh, you're in the bargaining stage. That's true. And
so what are these things? What are the other? Was there shit?
Now there's the problem. So we're not sure what to make of this stuff. So the what we found is like the solar system isn't this nice, neat categories that we had before. And I joke and I say it this way. I was like, Pluto was a planet when we were pretty stupid. Like our information we had was very limited. So it's like, we've learned a lot since 1930. And so when the Pluto debate happens, it's like, well, that's lost all those other things that we've actually found. So what it looks like, our solar system, we have the sun in the center, or virtually the center. That's our star. We have the inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, all have similar characteristics. We have asteroids in the asteroid belt. Now we're up to about 750,000 asteroids have been found. We got the 4 outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, gaseous planets. Then we got Pluto and the Pluto belt, basically. So that has a lot of different names. So those 2,000 things with Pluto belt, they're often called Kuiper belt objects, trans-Neptunian objects, Plutoids. So it's not an easy thing to put them all together, but it is different. That population is way different than a planet. So when it all came down to the vote, there's a group that decides this stuff, which I will say I'm not invited onto this elite group because I'm a self-taught astronomer, and they don't like self-taught astronomers. They like PhDs and all that kind of stuff, and I'm not invited. I didn't discover anything. I'm not bitter or anything like that. But
sounds like we need to have the 5-stage grief conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm accepting because I don't really want to be in a group anyway. But yeah, I do. But okay, so I'm in the denial. No, that's still denial. Shoot,
maybe after a lot of people in the athletic Hall of Fames, they don't earn induction until they die. So you have time.
Yeah, I'll take an honorary thing. I'll do. Yeah,
we have at least like 60-something years.
That's true. I still got a long way to go. Yeah.
So we don't know. So these things.
Yeah. Well, so this is where the human element comes in with astronomy, is that they had to decide what a planet was in 2006, which is hilarious. Like, here you have the best astronomers in the world, and they can't agree what a planet is, and like something you learn in second grade. Yeah. And so they're forced to decide what this is. And it's like one of the funniest things to look back on is these and I say this with all respect, nerds. Nerds are it's a term of endearment.
In your world.
Yeah, maybe there is a little bit of belittling. Yeah, now that I think about it.
So you're going with it too. You're like, yep, they are.
Especially that group that they don't want me also. I'll just call them nerds. Yeah. Boy, that's a different stage of grief. But anyway, they had to like wrestle with this super easy thing to a kid. They could be able to figure this out, but to them it was like serious business. We got to like negotiate exactly how this is going to be. And they had this really elite group that formed that made a proposal. There should be 12 planets, and nobody hears about this because they kind of brushed it under the rug. But at the time, this was like the most, and so I'm watching this all like virtually happening because I'm like, something's going to happen. They're going to pick their planets. This could be the moment.
Exciting.
This could be the moment the Pluto gets demoted. Let me watch them squirm a little bit. And they're like, yeah, there's 12 planets. And this comes out. I'm like, 12? That was never one of the options. What are you talking about? 12? What are the 12? It's like Mercury. Okay. Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Eris, that 10th one. All right, I can accept Eris, I suppose. Ceres, which is an asteroid found 1801. That was a planet from 1801 to 1859 till it got kicked out. And it got included because it's roundish. I was like, all right, Ceres, I guess. I don't know, and then number 12. This is where they went too far. Number 12 was Charon, which is Pluto's largest moon.
Our moon's not a planet.
Correct.
How would you? Okay, it doesn't take an astronomer.
No, but they were like, well, Pluto and Charon
Charon doesn't go around Pluto. They go around each other. They're big enough. Charon's big enough that they're orbit like a double planet. Did I hit this something?
No, you're good.
Okay, sorry.
So you're okay.
So it's like these two, they were like, yeah, it's a double planet, so we're gonna include them each as a planet. And I was like, nope. This is nope. You're not gonna do this. I let you take Eris in. Ceres, I didn't like it. But nope, you can't make a moon a planet. I don't care what you say. And luckily, the people at the conference went berserk when they heard this. They were like, they had the same reaction I did. They were like flipping over tables, like, who decided this? This is 12 planets. Oh, this is it. And so they like this committee came together, like, okay, we got to do something about this. This is 12 planets. This is getting embarrassing. People are watching us. Guy in Cincinnati's watching us. He's embarrassed by us.
I would have paid money to be there to see the pocket protectors flying across the room, the taped up glasses flying all over the floor, right?
Yep. Telescope smashed, everything like that. It was, and so they're like, this group comes in and is like, all right, what do we say? We got 8 planets. Remember the 8 planets thing? Let's just do 8 planets. All right, everybody, 8 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Vote aye. 93% voted yes. Done deal. And I do believe if it wasn't for the terrible, horrible 12-planet proposal, maybe Pluto still would be there. But I don't know.
But Aries would be there too.
Aries would probably be there too.
Okay.
So, yeah. Now the guy that convinced me. So I was following along this thing, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know what I didn't really know what. I didn't really have a stake in the game other than I kind of wanted Pluto to stay. I was seeing the way it was going to stay was rapidly diminishing. But the guy who convinced me was a guy named Mike Brown, different Mike Brown than our Cincinnati Mike Brown. He's an astronomer from Caltech. He discovered Eris. He discovered lots of other things out there in the Pluto belt. And he stood to gain the most from all these things being planets. He would be the greatest planet discoverer in the history of planet discoveries. This is a guy that knows the most about this area of the solar system. And he said, nope, these are not planets. I can't rightly say that these are planets. I did not discover planets, and I will, I can't do it. His whole family revolted against him and said, what are you doing? Say they're planets. We will be rich. Say they are planets. And he's like, can't do it. So even his own daughter was like turned on him. It's like, Dad, these are planets. And he was like, nope, they're not planets. And so I met him soon after the demotion, where I was still a little hesitant. I was still like, eh. And he's just like, they're different things. They really are different things. Like if I would have found Pluto today instead of it was found 1930, there's no way we would have put it in the same category. And so it's just this tradition that goes through. And I know tradition is a big thing. It's going to be hard to get over.
So what in your mind makes a planet a planet?
So that's what I asked Mike Brown. And I said, so if you were to make a definition, because by the way, the definition that group made stinks. I mean, it's terrible. It's a terrible definition. They say a planet has to be round, or has to go around the sun, has to be big enough to be round, and it can't share its orbit. And I'm like, yeah, well,
that's kind of weird.
We share our orbit with asteroids, and it's
kind of weird. That's
poorly,
weird.
Yeah. And it was all because they had to rush and do this like in 20 minutes. And I joke, and I put this in the book, like if only they had some English majors there, they would have had a better definition. But anyway, so Mike Brown, I was like, so what would you do if you would write this definition? And he's just like, yeah, planet is a uniquely big and important thing that goes around a star. And there's 8 things that fall into that category. Uniquely big and important thing goes around a star. Those are 8, and those are the only 8. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty good.
Makes sense.
That's pretty good.
When you just hear something just makes sense,
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he had a big impact on me. And he's the other thing that I found is the people that think Pluto should not be a planet are a lot more fun than the people think Pluto should be a planet.
Okay, so I'm not fun.
No. Now, and I'll give you just like an example, because this is, I think people probably have an impression of astronomers in certain ways, but I have this anecdote about Mike Brown that is just so good. Like, just sums up his mentality towards this stuff is that, so he discovers Eris. He names it Eris. Eris is the Greek goddess of discord and strife. He named it that because he knew the astronomers would start fighting and throwing pocket protectors and all that stuff. And of course, he thought that would be real fun to watch. So he names it that. But that wasn't his original name for it. He had an even better original name. The original name was Xena, Xena, as in Xena the Warrior Princess.
So if it wasn't going to be the strife and debate around it, that should have been the name.
Should have been the name. So he wanted to start with an X because it would have been the 10th planet, which he would only say that jokingly. Also, he's a big fan of Xena the Warrior Princess. So I got to interview him last year, and I asked him the question, which would be any nerdy astronomer type like myself would want to know, is like, so did you hear from Lucy Lawless about this? And you get to meet her and all that stuff, because that's, of course, what I would want to do. I mean, that would be the perks of a job being an astronomer, to meet Lucy Lawless, I would think. And he said, oh, I don't think I've ever told anybody this, but, when all the press was coming up about this and I was getting all these interview requests, Lucy Lawless called and left me a message on my voicemail. And I didn't pick up because I thought it was a joke. And I was like, what?
But he better have saved the message still on his phone.
I was like, what? You didn't? Wait, you didn't pick up? He's like, no, I didn't pick up. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was like a fake person. I'm like, you fool. I'm like, you could have talked to Lucy Lawless. So they later met, or at least talked on the phone, and like kind of had a little conversation later on, but it was like much later on. But not to lose this completely, is that, so he also found a moon around Eris. And he named the moon Dysnomia, which was another goddess, but it's the goddess of lawlessness. So Lucy Lawless gets something named after her. Sneaky way about that. And then, getting good with Xena works out pretty good.
So what's up with this thing? Like, what do we have to do to be like Dean to get an asteroid named after us? Is it Dean Regas 8815?
Yeah.
What the heck, man?
I know. I got an asteroid named after me, 8815 Dean Regas. Yeah, so you put the number first, then the name. The number is like basically the order of the asteroids, how they're discovered. So I got a pretty low number, I got to say, since they're up to 700-something thousand. It was one of the great honors of my life to get this. And it the way it happens is that whoever discovers it gets first dibs on naming it. My asteroid was discovered in 1984, but the astronomer never named it. And I don't know what happened. I got to look up this guy and see like why. He probably found like dozens of them and ran out of names, or maybe died afterwards. I don't know. I have to find out why he didn't name it. So then after a certain length of time, if the discoverer doesn't name it, it falls to whoever computes its orbit. So the guy that computed the orbit, his name is Fred Bowman, a Cincinnatian, and he knew me from the observatory and was like, hey, he came in one day. He's like, I named an asteroid after you. I'm like, what? What are you talking about, Fred? It was like completely out of the blue. And it's official. I got a plaque and everything.
Can you tell us all of the critical information about your asteroid?
No, I don't know.
What? You haven't studied it?
When we see asteroids, they look like little dots. So you can't, even the size is indeterminate. The composition's indeterminate. So it's not one of the ones that have been studied in great detail. So
you were supportive that we lost Pluto as a planet, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen when they determine your asteroid to just be a little thing, not an asteroid anymore?
That's fine. It's a minor planet. It is small. I know what it is.
Where is it? When we look up the sky, do we have to have the most powerful telescope to see 8815 Dean Regas?
You don't. So there's some amateur astronomers who've taken some pictures of it for me. So that was really nice. It looks like a little dot. It's a nice place I can go to if I need to. People ask, well, So what if it turns out that it ends up coming on a collision course with Earth? Would you still want your name associated with it? And I thought,
In an evil way, you do, don't you?
I mean, if one of them's going to come at us, I'd hope it'd be mine. I mean, I wouldn't want it to be somebody else's.
So what's up with this one that just flew by today or yesterday or whenever? Are they always flying by?
Yeah, they're always flying by, and it's total clickbait on the social media and places like, asteroid flying really close to Earth today. It's like, I liken it to say like, I don't know what the last one was, how close it was, but often they're like, oh yeah, asteroids could come within 2 million miles of us or within 4 million miles of us. To astronomers, and this is the problem, the less media savvy astronomers always say, yeah, that's really close. Yeah, I mean, it's close in comparison to other ones that flew by, but that's like, so what I usually say is if 4 million miles is as close to running into us as me driving close to the Grand Canyon on my commute over here to Kentucky. I mean, that's how close this asteroid wasn't even close to us. But it is definitely a concern that we need to keep watching for these asteroids.
Because they've hit us.
Yeah, we've been hit in the past. We know that's affected there have been extinction events that in our very distant past. And that's one of the things why we know about so many asteroids now, why we're up to 750,000 of them, because there's this group of telescopes that is their mission, is to look for things incoming. And I think the thing is anything bigger than 100 feet across, we pretty much know where all of them are. And none of them are on a collision course.
But don't we get surprised every once in a while?
That's the thing. It's like all the ones we know about are the ones we know about. But then the ones that we don't know about come out of the darkness and out of farther away. And so that's why it's important to keep being very vigilant with this kind of thing.
What's the closest one has come in your lifetime?
I'd say that between us and the moon is kind of that. If it gets between us and the moon, that's a little scary to get kind of close.
Because how far away is the moon?
240,000 miles on average. So it's that's pretty close. I'd say the one that hit in Russia, I think it was 2013. That one was.
Didn't it blow up above the trees?
Yeah.
It wasn't an impact.
Yeah. That was a startling one because that came out of the blue. That was not seen ahead of time. In fact, that was one. There was a story the day before, like asteroid coming close to the Earth from this other direction that was going to miss us by 2 million miles. And then the story breaks about this one hitting. And I remember hearing about this. I'm like, oh, this is baloney. This is probably nothing. And I'm like, holy crap, look at that explosion. I mean, because all these videos of the
trees
thing exploding. So that was pretty dramatic. And luckily nobody was killed from that. Some injuries from flying glass and the breaking out, the sonic booms that happened. It broke out all these glass.
How big was it? Do they know?
I think it was either 40 feet or 40 meters. I can't remember how big. I think it was 40 feet across. So it was a good sized one. Definitely, if it was right above a city, could have done some real damage. But that was the biggest one in at least recent that's been documented.
Did the atmosphere protect us? What happened? How did it blow up before it had impact?
Yeah, so this was a type of asteroid or a meteorite that was mostly made of rock, so it wasn't like as metallic as some of the other ones. So if you see a shooting star going across the sky and it has a green tint to it, that means there's probably iron and heavier elements, and that could actually survive to hit the ground sometimes. This one was a rocky one, so it was less dense, and when it comes through the atmosphere, it's under all this pressure and heats up and everything. That's why you see the shooting star part of it. And then at about 40 miles up, 50 miles up, it will either like burn up and give this big trail, but often will break up into lots of pieces. And so that one, just the pressure just got to it, and the heat was so intense it just exploded above the ground. But if it was made of metal, it probably would have survived all the way, hit the ground, and made a big crater. But those are the rocky ones are more common that they would explode like that.
Are we the only ones?
Yeah, that's a toughie. I go back and forth on this one, that's for sure. I think that, you look at the universe and you say, okay, we got 2 trillion galaxies. That's our latest estimate. 2 trillion galaxies. Each galaxy has a couple 100 billion stars in it. How many of those stars have planets around them? Seems to be a lot more than we thought. How many of those planets would be Earth-like? How many planets like that would have water in liquid form? And that'd be a lot of planets. It'd be a lot of planets in the universe that could be Earth-like. So
Trillions.
probably in the order of at least millions of Earth-like planets are out there.
But
so
trillions in general of planets, but
yeah, trillions of planets in general. And
millions of Earth-like planets that
Yeah.
would be habitable.
Yeah, well, maybe. So that's the idea, is that, and one of the biggest advances in astronomy is finding planets around other stars, called exoplanets, and they have found more exoplanets than even the most optimistic person could have ever thought they'd find. It's like 1 in every 5 stars in our galaxy has a planet. So with 300 billion stars, that's a whole lot of planets in our galaxy. So we don't know about other galaxies, but it could be assumed it's very similar. So just by that sheer number, you would say, all right, is Earth 1 in a trillion? If so, then yeah, there's other life forms. But the more I look at our situation on Earth, are we 1 in a trillion, or are we 1? Like, there's a lot of stuff that went down before we got here. Like, a lot of weird stuff. The formation of our moon is really weird. That we were a molten planet, some big object size of Mars runs into Earth with such force that it breaks off a piece of the Earth. That swirls around the Earth for a while, forms into the moon. That's weird. Like, we don't know of any other place that happened. Pluto is a possible place where that could have happened, but we're not sure. How did that, if that never happened, would we not be here? Like, the Earth wasn't destroyed, but it was damaged and messed up. That was just that idea. The idea of where did life come from originally? Was it seeded here? Was it through chemical things? How did it even get started?
Were we brought from somewhere else?
Were we brought from other aliens? Who knows? I mean, I'm not going to totally discount that as a theory, but the idea that like, if people ask me about like space and like, does the vastness of space bother me and disturb me and depress me and how big everything is I mean, I guess a little bit, but not that much. It's time that messes with me. Like, thinking about how much time came forward before this and all the things that led up to us now and all the weird things that happened in the past before we were even born. And I just like, I can't do time travel movies, because like, if we changed one thing in the past, who knows what would have happened to us. So then I go back to like, maybe we are the only one. Maybe this is a weird situation we got set up on. But then I talk to guys in and women in astrobiology that like get into this idea of like, how life forms in the solar system, how life forms places, how maybe life formed on Earth. And if I asked them that question, almost universally, astrobiologists would say, oh, absolutely, there's other places. Like, we are not unique. I mean, we had some weird stuff happen, but we're going to find life out there, no doubt. So I don't know. All I know is that I've never had a legitimate UFO report come across my desk.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything. And what life would look like in other places, I don't know. I'm hopeful, but it's more of a gut reaction than a scientific thing.
What do you think? So when they receive signals from somewhere, I just read, what do you think that is?
Yeah, the signals thing is, this isn't a field that I'm as familiar with, but it depends on which wavelength they're like studying. But you get this this noise. There's always this kind of background noise, and then if you get the stuff that kind of like cuts through that, that's what you kind of are listening for. But every one of them has been nothing that's repeated or anything like that, and in a good enough way to like say, okay, this is like a civilization sending us a signal. There's some doubts whether our signals even go out very far. So the old theory was like all the radio that we made is out in space. TV broadcasts are out in space. And so if there's aliens on other planets, they could tune in our old TV shows and watch, and especially listen to 700 WLW with how much stuff they're pumping out there. Are they still at 50,000 watts, or
there might be more? I don't know, but I think they're still working at the same level.
Whatever their peak was, they were like one of the loudest things out in the universe, which is kind of funny. So yeah, we could have all these fans of Jim Scott and Bill Cunningham out there listening.
That's our representation.
I know,
of humans.
exactly. But the latest theory is saying, let's hold up on this. It seems that like radio and other signals could deteriorate faster than we thought. Like maybe they only go out a light year, a couple light years, but if you're really far away, you're not going to be able to tune in.
So it's like the wavelength shrinks so much it just doesn't even exist.
Yeah, it fades out. So that's why people say, well, why haven't we heard anybody else's radio and TV? And that might be the answer for that. So yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say what this is going to look like, but I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to find some life, but
so this vastness idea.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get your take on it. A lot of people, it is too much to think about, but I like thinking about these things. I don't control it. It is what it is. It was here for all these millions or whatever year. What do you call? So we call our galaxy like our galaxy, right? So
Right.
Milky Way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how many galaxies do we think there are right now?
Latest estimate I heard was 2 trillion.
Okay.
But it's an estimate.
Where's the end?
Yeah, so this is where it gets into some deep stuff, and this is where you get into the theoretical astronomer realm a little bit. So it's not my cup of tea, not my specialty, that's for sure. So I can only repeat kind of what they say.
Yeah, what would you think of all of it? What makes the most sense if there was it's like, how can we even wrap our limited human brains around this thing?
Yeah, it's
because it's something.
Yeah, and so this is a field called cosmology, where they have these kind of big thoughts and the stuff, and so yeah, they just like sit around and be like, yeah, man, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I'm not exaggerating. This is what they do. They're really fun to hang out with. They're really deep. Might be some pot there. I don't know.
Well, you sounded like a stoner right then. So I'm like, all right, Dean, here we go.
Anybody talks about the universe, they have to be a little out there a little bit. Now, I'm joking about the pot thing, but it's possible. But I've never seen it. But they are pretty cool and fun to hang out with because they do think about this stuff and this cosmic scale. So this is what they say. And so they say, okay, there's 2 possibilities. One, that the universe is finite, that there is an edge to it, that there's a definite edge and it has different size and age and all that kind of stuff, that there's that. Then the other group says it is infinite, meaning it is everything and there is no edge. You go one direction forever, you will never reach the edge. And it's everything. Both are lacking in a lot of ways, because
if it ends in a finite place, what's beyond that?
Exactly. And will we ever know what that is? So we don't know that there is an edge because we can't see an edge, and we definitely can't see past the edge. But how can it be everything? Because what our brain can't comprehend what infinity looks like. So neither answer is very satisfying. So when you see those maps of the universe and that they kind of show it as like this big bubble and we're in the center of it and then there's this definite edge, what the edge is that they're showing on those maps is not space, it's time. So this is where it gets real deep, man. So just get ready, is that when you look in space, you look back in time. So it takes time for light to go from one place to the other. So when we're looking at that edge, the farthest things we can see are 13.5 billion light years away. So that light left those spots 13.5 billion years ago and is only getting to us now. So we can't see past that edge because that was before the universe existed.
It's like a projection light on 13.5 billion years ago.
Yeah.
So it's changed since, whatever it is now.
Yep.
We just saw that.
Yeah, and that thing that we're seeing, like the James Webb Telescope got a
In
picture.
Hawaii, right?
James Webb's the one up in space. Yeah,
Yeah.
So they got this picture of the earliest star, the earliest galaxy. It's 13 billion years old.
Okay.
That is not really there. That's what that galaxy, where it was and what it used to look like 13 billion years ago. It's deep, man. I like thinking about this stuff, but it's like, I don't know. I'd rather look through a telescope and see. So I like to see the real stuff.
That's why.
So that's why I'm not a theoretical astronomer or a cosmologist. I think it's cool. I think it's fascinating, but
it's deep. What do you do with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you do with it?
That's a good point. I like to do stuff with stuff.
So what the hell with a black hole?
Yeah. So now that one's interesting one because this is one that the theoretical astronomers are nailing pretty well. Like, so we got some minimal evidence for them, and they took this and were like, "Hey, this is what's happening inside of here. This would explain what you're seeing." And then the more evidence we're finding, it's backing up what they're finding. So this is one of the theoretical success stories. The two pictures. So we have two actual pictures of black holes now, which is brand new. Like 2019 was the first one. Last year, I think, was the second one. The getting of those pictures is unbelievably one of the greatest engineering feats like in astronomy. And because what they did is they took a couple telescopes on different parts of the world, linked them with this high speed cable, like internet stuff that nobody else could have probably. And they turned a section of the Earth into a whole telescope, basically. It is the craftiest, coolest thing that they could get that picture. And then they have to look through the center of galaxies, through all these stars. So they're looking through stars and then getting these images of black holes. That was the engineering part of it is way better than the actual picture. The picture's like, yeah, it's a black hole. All right, cool. But yeah, the way they got that was really cool. So then where the theoretical part breaks down is what happens inside the black hole.
Because didn't we always think it was a vacuum?
Well, so there's the two ways to think of it this way too is there's lots of theories on black holes, but basically everything breaks down once you're in there because gravity is so intense, not even light can escape. So is it a hole or is it not a hole? It's
it seems like a massive form of gravity or something.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that there's these theories are out there. You fall into a black hole, you go somewhere else. You go to a different dimension. You go to a different universe. You go to a different part of the universe. And that's a wormhole. That's real out there. And
yeah.
I just have a hard time.
You can't get on board with that.
No, because it's an object. It's not a hole. It's an object. And so it's like you take 4 million suns and you jam them pack into one place, and that's what it is. So I mean, why would you go somewhere else? You fall in a black hole, you're on that black hole, and nobody's
is it the place that planets go to die? What is it?
Yeah. You just fall in there and you're gone. You're never seen again.
What attracts them there to the strom? Is it a gravity pull?
It's all gravity. Yeah.
Do we understand what that calculation is? Are they?
Yeah. So that the laws of that is pretty well defined.
Okay.
So and that's why there's this point of no return called the event horizon. So if you're an object in that area, you're going to go into that black hole no matter what. There's no stopping it. But it is kind of cool to think of time is it works differently in a black hole. Gravity is it's understood what's happening there, but it's a wild place to think about. But that idea of you're going to a different universe and stuff, I don't know. I don't get it. That doesn't make sense to me. But.
Have you been? What's the coolest observatory that you've been to? Let's take Cincinnati out of it since you're home one.
Yeah.
But other than that, what's the one that gives you the greatest appreciation for the stars for astronomy?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, definitely the Cincinnati Observatory is a very unique place. There's no doubt about it. We
Why?
got this.
Can
Well,
we-
we got this old telescope. It's 178 years old. It'll be this year. So oldest one in the country. Made out of wood and brass. It's just a gorgeous instrument. Works so good. I mean, like, it is the easiest telescope to use. Like, even though it's 178 years old, it's magical. It's like, how is this thing still in existence? 178 years of Cincinnati winters, and the wood tube is still straight. It's something that's should be in a museum. The Smithsonian's going to get it someday. But what I love about our place is that we make it so accessible. It's like, we know what we got. We got this one of a kind item, and we let you touch it. We'll let you move it. We'll let you look through it. It's like a working telescope, and it is just incredible. The craftsmanship on it, it's just amazing. So being part of that is super special. I hope that it'll be with us 500 more years at least. So if I had to pick a second best one, man, that's tough. I definitely have a sweet spot in my heart for the Lowell Observatory, Flagstaff, Arizona. They've got a variety of telescopes out there, including the telescope that discovered Pluto. So you can't deny that one's a cool thing to see, the Pluto telescope. Man,
Why do people talk about this one in Hawaii? Is it because it's just in Hawaii?
Well, yeah, that
Is
was.
that why?
I would say that's out of all the other ones I've been to. That one's going to be. It would either be second or third. It depends on
What makes it special? Is it accessing it? Is it the clarity of the sky? What is it?
the scopes in Hawaii. So there's a variety of them, but the two biggest ones are called the Keck telescopes, and they're the giant domes. And you drive up there. You could drive up there from. It's on the Big Island of Hawaii. You could go like at the coast, all the way up to there. And I don't know if it's 13,000 or 12,000. I can't remember how high it is, but it's pretty high. So you go from sea level to above the clouds, basically. And it's like you're on this alien terrain. And these two gigantic domes, like when you stand next to them, you're like, whoa, this is huge. You got these 40-foot diameter telescopes. That's a pretty sweet sight. I mean, I think being in Hawaii helps as well, but just those scopes are pretty incredible. But there's going to be some newer ones, and Chile, that's the new kind of hot spot for new telescopes. They're building some really big ones there. There's already a lot of big ones there. There's a big one in the Canary Islands. So there's a lot of variety of them. But I'd say out of all of them I've seen, it'd be Cincinnati Observatory number 1, Lowell and Keck would be 2 and 2A. But I'll throw this in as a really cool spot that does have an observatory and a planetarium. It's Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles. That is just the coolest building. I mean, it's like this Art Deco-y building on the Hollywood Hills. I mean, it's in movies for a reason. It just looks like this cool building. And I went there, and it was like this, in the middle of the day, like noon, and it was just like this party atmosphere. People were like hanging out there, getting their pictures taken with us, standing in front of the building. Their telescopes the telescope they have there is probably one of the most used telescopes in the world. Not the prettiest looking thing, but the buildings are pretty awesome. That's for sure.
Most used, does that mean people that come and see it, or is it for
most
science?
eyeballs have looked through that telescope than any other. We thought ours was up in that scheme because of our sheer age, but I think they get something like 250,000 people looking through a telescope in 1 year. That beats us.
What do you think? So we went from 1930 on discovering Pluto and making it a planet to, what was it, 2006? So that's 76 years. In the greatest places your mind and brain can go, what do you think we're going to discover in the next 76 that we don't know yet?
Oh yeah, that's a toughie. If the parts of astronomy that have me kind of most interested would be, and I don't know if I want to put these in a order, but I think sending people to Mars is going to be a big story and a big deal. And I think that, although unlikely, it is possible that the first human visitors there will find some fossils on Mars. We have this great history we know of how Mars was very a water world, and there's sedimentary rock on Mars. Was there life in the past? I don't know. I think it's maybe like a 5% chance, but it's still something that I think that we're going to go to Mars. There's no doubt this century somebody's going to do it. What will they find there? And if they find fossils, that's going to be awesome.
So did we come from Mars, or did somebody go from here and go there?
Yeah, I don't think we have much of a connection with Mars.
What do you think the fossils are going to be? Just some alien
form?
So
alien life forms that evolved and formed into completely separate things. But again, that's a long shot.
Yeah.
It's not a definite. But
so what else is on the list?
Europa is the mission that I'm most looking forward to, and that's coming up faster than 70 some years. But Europa is a moon of Jupiter that's icy covered, has liquid water inside of it, shoots out liquid water through the cracks, and so that could be another place life could exist underneath that ice. And
are there little alien things underneath that ice that have figured out how to live?
Alien sea creatures is not beyond the pale. I mean, anywhere we find water on Earth, we find in creatures and life. Single-celled life be the most likely, but aquatic life is definitely in the cards. So that's one of the big mysteries. And for me, Europa is a little bit more exciting than Mars. Not a place for people to go visit, but robotic spacecrafts.
Is it because there's currently water there?
Right. Yeah. So if the estimates are correct, there's more water in Europa than on Earth. So that's
because we're really a pretty small planet, aren't we?
Yeah, in the scheme of things, we're kind of small. But it's still very unique, that's for sure. So I'm trying to think of if I were to say the other big stories. Europa is going to be a future thing we're going to be looking at a lot more carefully. Mars is still going to always be in our thing. Space tourism is a interesting prospect. I don't see that as being like a real viable company or business that we have our billionaires going in space now,
but not enough wealthy people to support it. Is that
so the idea is okay, eventually we'll get it to the average person will be able to take a little trip up into space and back down and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I maybe I just don't have the vision for that, but or maybe I'm thinking billionaires are going now. 20 years will be millionaires. 50 years, maybe I can afford one.
Maybe middle class, right?
Yeah, maybe.
So what's space considered? How far up from the Earth?
Well, that's the other thing is that it depends on who you ask. So Americans say space starts at 62 miles and change. I think it's 62 and a half. So William Shatner went up in space. That's technically space, but he didn't go around the Earth once. So when they start sending tourists around the Earth, then I'll start to take notice. But right now it's like an up and back. I like to make the analogy of William Shatner's ride to a Cincinnati landmark here. The journeys that they're taking are 15 minutes long, so they're up and back in 15 minutes. So riding the Beast roller coaster is about 5 minutes. So they went on 3 rides of the Beast roller coaster. That's the equivalent of what they did. Great.
Right.
Sure, it would be sweet. And don't get me wrong, if they asked me to do it, I would totally do it. But they're not breaking ground. They're not wait, what's the line from Star Trek? Going where no one has gone before.
Yeah.
For William Shatner, going where
everyone,
dozens of people have gone before.
That's not very nice, Dean.
No, dozens of people have gone before 50 years earlier.
Maybe he should have followed the Buzz Lightyear approach.
Well, but again, if
infinity and beyond.
If somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, you want a free ride up to 65 miles up and back?" Of course, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to.
I'm a scaredy cat, man.
Yeah, no, I'd totally do it. It'd be fine.
What does the space station? What orbit is that? How far up?
Yeah, so space station's up about 200, 250 miles up, varies somewhere around in there. So it's not that high. Like it's like from here to Cleveland, basically. But yeah, straight up. And so it circles around the Earth about every 90 minutes. And yeah, the future of the space station's interesting.
It's because the Chinese, the Russian, the U.S. we're just not coordinated together. Is that because China's working on their own?
Yeah, China has their own space station, and there's a whole history behind that, which is nobody really looks good in that debate between the United States, Russia, and China over the space station. China kind of felt like they were kept out of it, and maybe rightly so. But
because it's always the Russians and Americans going up there.
Well, it was like the decision of who got to help out or who got to make the International Space Station it definitely could have been better. And the whole thing with the space station, they lost something when they it was supposed to be the big selling point for me with the space station was that it was going to be a launch pad for Mars. So like you go up there and more than half of the heavy lifting is just getting up to low Earth orbit. So you get up there, you can refuel, you can redo it, and then bang, you can go out to the moon, you go out to Mars. And they never put that in there. And I don't know if it was because of budget cuts or arguments with Russia, with China, I'm not sure. But yeah, the future of the space station's interesting. I have mixed feelings about it. I think it's a good thing, but it's a limited thing.
Is it beyond its useful significance to if we learned what we're going to learn?
Yeah, I think we've learned a lot of what we're going to learn.
Yeah. Now it's time to go to the moon. Is that happening?
Yeah, I'm a little
We're not gonna worry anything there.
impatient with the missions, and I should be because I know how dangerous it is. But I'm ready for Mars. Going to the moon's one thing, but let's just do it. Let's just go on to Mars, and I'm willing to watch other people do it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But that might not be good enough reason. I don't know.
What? So in the show, Stargazers, at the end of the show, I might not have the full statement, but you would say, "Keep looking up." Was that?
Yep.
Okay. For the average person, it's probably saying, "Hey, explore it. Keep looking up." When you came up with that statement, you and your or was it already there?
No,
okay.
that was a holdover from the original Jack Horkheimer days. So he was the inventor of that catchphrase, which I felt uncomfortable using initially because I'm like, this is Jack's. I can't say this. And so I tried to come up with some other ones. And I forget which the one that actually did appear on one show. I think I said it was bad. It was something like, good night and say hi to the stars tonight or something like that. And afterwards the producer was like, don't say that again. I was like, what? It's like, but they never re-recorded it. So there's one episode where we don't say looking up where he said something like that.
What episode number is that?
I don't know. I should go. It's one of the early ones. So
2011, 12, 13.
Yeah, probably somewhere in there. And they're like, don't say that again. I was like,
get your hand slapped.
I was like, I feel bad for using this other guy's catchphrase. And they're like, hey, this is the show. This is the thing. This is our saying. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Whatever.
Fine,
keep looking up.
Yeah, keep looking up.
I remembered it.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's a very positive message. It's a very quick thing to say, but it's also, and it's one thing that, I actually kind of used a lot, especially during COVID too, because of how, difficult those years were, especially early on. And that kind of, positivity is really pretty amazing because what we were kind of thinking is like, okay, well, we're in quarantine. We can't hang out with people. We can't do stuff. We can't do like big programs at the observatory, but there's like this solace in the stars and looking up. And so that was what our thing where like we started this thing of doing social distance stargazing and keep looking up was the message behind that. I think people kind of got into it because they were getting cabin fever in those early months and getting out and doing stargazing. So we did see this kind of explosion of astronomy during COVID, of people getting their own telescopes and wanting to do this themselves. And
I'd like to think we had a little part of that as to just kind of get people something else to do. And, as we're all doing our kind of soul searching during the early days of COVID. And,
What do you think the average human who's not an astronomer, how can we participate in your passion every day? Like, what do we do?
Ooh. That's a toughie. I see, for me, what I usually tell people is to, my checklist, what I do is like, I go outside. Every time I go outside, I take a little look up, see what's going on up there. Unfortunately, I live in a cloudy city, so it's cloudy most of the time, but I still keep doing it. I still look up, even though I'm like, yeah, clouds. Okay. Yeah, snow. Okay. But, that just being that awareness of what's going on up there, because like when I was younger, when I was, even as a young adult, I didn't notice the stuff that was up there. I didn't, you're kind of focused with your head down, you're walking, you're looking down on stuff on Earth. But having that perspective of just getting out there and looking up there and noticing things, because there's so many things, even a light polluted sky like what we have in Cincinnati, they're still just enjoying seeing the moon up in the sky, seeing the planets, because you can see Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn with the naked eye. Nobody told me that when I was a kid. If I would looked up, I would have been like, hey, what's that plane flying in? Okay, whatever. But no, it was the planet Venus, and I probably saw it hundreds of times but didn't know what it was. Just that appreciation of that. Yeah, I don't need a telescope. I just need to kind of tilt my head back and kind of see what's going on up there. It is changed my life just by doing that. Having that opportunity I never looked through a telescope when I was a kid because I never had a chance to. But even if you're a city dweller, there's lots of things you can see up in the sky. And there's an event we do every year called the supermoon, which is a very recent kind of phenomenon. It's when the moon is closer to Earth than average, and so it's slightly bigger in the sky. It's a non-event to an astronomer. Any astronomer is just like, supermoon, whatever. It's, who cares? It's like nobody will be able to tell the difference between a supermoon and a regular moon. And I thought that too. And I was just like, And one of my coworkers was like, everybody's talking about the supermoon. We should have a supermoon viewing. I'm like, I mean, what? So what are they going to do? Come over and we'll say, hey, look, there's the moon. It looks the same. And he's like, just do it. I was like, all right, it's going to be on a Saturday night. Sure, why not? Let's do it on a Saturday night. And so I was pleasantly surprised as to people's reaction, because basically what we do is we sit out on the hillside of the observatory. We have this nice east-facing horizon, and you just watch the moon rise. A simple thing like that, which is something I've seen hundreds and hundreds of times, but seeing it in a group, people just sitting on their blankets and their lawn chairs on the outside watching this, waiting for this to happen, and nobody's on their phones. They're all just sitting there, and just the conversations that people are having as they're waiting for the moonrise. And then when the moonrise comes up, everybody's like, oh, wow. And it's little things like that taking just a little breath and a little moment to see the stuff up there. I don't know. It's a powerful thing. And so I'm a supermoon lover now. I love it. I see what it does to people, because it's the same kind of stuff that, I mean, I'll watch a moonrise all the time, but if I can get an excuse to have somebody else to do it too, and maybe it'll stick in their brain a little bit.
Does all of this, so maybe go to the observatory, look at the observatory's website. I'm sure you guys have things happening all the time.
Absolutely, yeah. CincinnatiObservatory.org. Lots of things. There's always events happening. I also do online classes too, so anybody around the country can take a class with me and learn a little bit. And
via the website as well?
Yep. So it's a good place to go and find out about this stuff. And then, wherever you are, if you're in other cities, check out your local astronomy club, local observatory, because I hope you see my excitement for the subject and passion for the subject. And there's lots of people like me out there, and every club out there around the country has a similar kind of vibe. It's so cool to see how amateur astronomers are so gung-ho about education. I want to share it too.
I think that's foundation of everything, right? Where regardless where the education comes from. Do you have, to wrap up here so I don't keep you all day, does this make you think any more than you think the average person about the purpose of life?
Ooh, yeah. That's tough. Probably not.
I think it's just normal. It's like normal.
I mean, there's like a lot of people ask about like religious stuff too. You know, like
I wasn't going to hit you on that, but you can go there. Like I'm somebody who one day I'm going to have a leader from a lot of the big religious groups to sit around the table.
Yeah. I wouldn't have much to add to what they would do.
I just question the hell out of them, right? That's all.
That's good. Yeah. It's boy, it's tough because I'm not a religious person. What perspective does it give me? I think the biggest thing that I would say is that it gives me this appreciation of Earth to an extent that I think I have an appreciation of Earth more than the average person would be, because of this is the one place in the universe we know of where it's built for us. We've learned to work on this planet. This is the only place where we can do this. And the opportunities that we have, this little, like I work at an observatory, but the whole Earth's an observatory in its own way. And that I'm seeing the stars, the same stars that all of our ancestors have seen, like that they would go out and see that same exact view and same exact stars and constellations and sense of wonder of where you are. I like that. I think that's what it is like I have this connection. I feel like I have this connection to our ancestors in a lot of ways, because you go to any country around the world, the astronomy was part of their story. That was part of their thing. That was the thing to do at night, no matter where you were in the world. It was their TV set. It was their.
Why do you think that is?
I joke and I say it's because they're really bored, but I think it's because it's a fascinating thing.
Don't you think it leads back to this thing really at the end of the day, this idea of feeding into the purpose of life, like who we are, where we come from, are there more? And even if we knew the answers to those, we'd say, okay, what's our purpose?
Yeah.
Is there even one?
Yeah, that one's tough because I don't get like a sense of purpose from it, but I get this. I get this
significant. It's significant in some way.
Well, yeah,
the Earth and
I think that stargazing was, from what I can tell, at least from my perspective, was the first science. So
from the philosophers, right? All the Greek philosophers, and
definitely philosophy, but for science, the stargazers were the people that led us to where we are as a society because of the science elements, because of the physics elements, the engineering. But it goes to something as simple as like watching stars rise and move across the sky, watching the sun move across the sky. This was the first time where people could make predictions of stuff.
I was going to say it's predictable.
Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you notice patterns. You can start making predictions. You figure out those patterns. You're going to change your life. You're going to change how life is on Earth. And that is what is we're essentially creative or curious scientists at heart. I think that's what goes to the heart of being human, is this exploration and trying to find out understanding. The deeper meaning behind it is trickier.
I'm just one because this whole purpose thing. I think that there's so many people in life that I don't think you have to be religious to recognize people like a Mother Teresa and like people like that have just been. I mean, they were martyrs in some way, how they gave up their life, but they found purpose in trying to ease pain. I guess, right? And so, and it's like, well, that's what she found, and that seems very worthwhile.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it's like, hey, just the same way that the sunrise and the sunset's predictable, I could pull up my weather app and type in any city of the world, and it says on there when's the sun rising and when's it going down. And so that's predictable. So if we knew what the purpose of life was, we sure could predict the exact way we should all do it.
Yeah, I think that's where it led to kind of an unscientific tangent that became astrology, that they were attempting to do that, to say, okay, maybe the stars can tell us where we're all heading individually. And that was where the limits of astronomy came, unfortunately.
Okay. And then is that where astrology, though, came?
Yeah.
And
so,
I'm not even well-versed in it at all.
Yeah, so that's where astrology kind of spun
I'm Aquarius,
off of,
that's all I know.
Yeah. So it's a spin-off of astronomy, and the process of it was just like that. They're like, okay, hey, we can predict where the sun's going to rise. Cool. We can see the cycle of that. We can see the cycle of the stars. We can see the cycle of the moon. We can make predictions of where these are going to go. So when the sun is doing something, animals do certain things. So we can predict migration. We can predict when
crickets are going to come out.
Crickets are going to come out. We can predict when the Nile's going to flood. That kind of stuff. And so then the astrologers were like, well, wait a second. If we can predict that, maybe we can predict what's going to happen to me. And it doesn't, at first it sounds like a reasonable leap. Like, okay, we went from stars, we went to the sun, we went to animals, we went to rivers, we went to weather. Well, yeah, well, why wouldn't it work for me too? Problem is, we're not. That's not what's ruling us.
What's ruling us? Our evil brains.
Showing how a river floods is not the same as how an individual in a city is going to actually spend their day.
Yeah, based upon when they were born.
Exactly, based on when they're born. So it's they had good intentions and they had a good base, but it ended up going to a place where they couldn't.
Ended up in crystal balls and tablecloths.
I know. It hurts, and it's the worst thing is when people say, "Oh yeah, you work at the observatory. Oh, I love astrology," and inside I just clench up like a. Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, just my whole body just tightens up. I'm like, because that's not a compliment.
No, it's not. But I think to you it's not. But they just don't. They don't understand.
No. And that's the thing. They're very intertwined in society, but they're very, very different things. That's for
so.
Sure.
What would All right, so we'll wrap on this since we're talking astrology.
Yeah.
If there was a yearly horoscope, we have daily ones, don't we? I've never read mine ever. What is Dean's 2023 horoscope?
Ooh. Boy, that's a tricky one. Let me think here. What am I going to do this? Yeah.
What are you excited about? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing I'm most excited about is solar eclipse. Surprise, surprise. October 14th of this year, we have a type of eclipse called annular solar eclipse, where almost the whole sun's blocked out, but not quite. And the best viewing locations are from this little swath of land from Oregon coast through Utah, through New Mexico and Texas. So I'm
You're gonna go.
I'm going. Yeah, it's a good excuse. I'm going to New Mexico.
Do you have like your buddies and you get together and what city are we meeting up in? And I'm going to take this area.
Well, I am oh boy, this is tricky because I'm the people's astronomer.
And Dean
364 days of the year.
Oh.
Eclipse days, I am single-minded, and it's everybody for themselves. Like, I'm going to give you all the information ahead of time, but day of eclipse, don't bother me. Don't talk to me. You don't want to be around me. I'm a stressful person.
What day is this?
October 14th. Don't cross my path on October 14th.
Where are you going to be?
Well, somewhere in New Mexico is where I'm hoping. If the weather turns, then I'm getting in the car and driving somewhere else. But yeah, I'm not a pleasant person on eclipse day. I'm a very stressed out person until the eclipse is over, and then I'm the funnest
person
guy.
And you're giddy about it.
Oh yeah.
So what are you stressed out about it? What's the
clouds? I don't want to miss it. If I miss it, then I'm just like, yeah, I haven't missed many eclipses because of clouds, because I'm pretty good at watching the weather forecast and that kind of thing. But there was one. This is the transit of Venus. This is like Venus go in front of the sun. Hadn't happened in 122 years. And I had built this up in my head so bad. Like I was like, I'm going to see this. Nobody's seen this alive. Nobody alive has ever seen this. And it was visible in Cincinnati, but not great. So I went farther east to more you could see. So I went to New Hampshire and to get a view. And the sun rises in the deepest fog you've ever seen. Like it's sunny, but you can't see it because the fog has rolled in. You can't see it. And I was there with a friend of mine. And we're sitting there in the car, looking at the ocean, looking at where the haze of the sun is in front of the thing. And I looked to my friend. I was like, I need to go outside for just a second. So I go outside, close the door, walk over to the ocean, and just yell bloody hell at the sky. Like, I can't believe it. And I don't know. I lost it for like a good 5 minutes, yelling at the clouds. And then I go back in the car. I'm like, okay, I feel better. Let's drive. We're going somewhere. We got 40 minutes. And so we drove around trying to get away from the fog. And we saw these 3 guys set up with their telescopes like along the beach. And, they couldn't see anything either. But I was like, well, misery loves company. Let's go stand out by them. And then the fog started lifting, and you could see the disk of the sun. And naked eye, you could see little Venus in front of it.
See, no reason.
No reason for me to freak out. Yeah, right. no, there's a good reason for me to freak out. But
so that's really cool.
So I do like a little hardship. The hardship makes the stories a little bit because then the next transit of Venus I'm like, I'm not messing around. I'm going to Arizona. I viewed from Sedona, like guaranteed clear skies. And we watched it. I was like, yeah, sunny the whole time. It's kind of boring.
So you needed some adversity.
Yeah. But I don't want to say that out loud because I'd rather see it. But,
it'd be easy.
But yeah, yelling at the universe is always an interesting prospect.
Did it yell back?
No. That's the thing that's where like people think that, like, the universe is talking to you and that kind of stuff. No. Universe is a cold, heartless thing.
Don't even know about you, man. It's doing what it's doing. So is Sedona? Is that the most clear sky?
Not really. It was like the Arizona in general is one of my go-to places. Usually Southern Arizona, like Tucson, is where all the old no offense, old astronomers. That's where all the old astronomers go to retire. There's like probably more astronomers in the Tucson area than
the rest of the
anybody
country.
Else. Yeah. And they're there for a reason because it's clear 340 days of the year or something like that.
So one more thing. What are the Northern Lights? What are they?
Northern Lights are one of the coolest things. That's the only thing that can hold a candle to a total solar eclipse as far as coolness. They are like, you go out in the sky, and the sky is these weird colors with these curtains that are moving and waving around with reds and blues and greens. And they are all from solar storms. So the sun is shooting off these flares at Earth. They travel 93 million miles through space to hit our upper atmosphere, hit our magnetic field. They get trapped up in the North Pole and South Pole areas. And the bigger storms that happen, the farther south they're viewable. So most of the time you have to be in Alaska, Iceland, that thing to see it. But on occasion, they'll come farther south. And the last time I really saw them in the Cincinnati area was 2001. So it's been a long time. So I'm hoping.
Do you know when that's going to happen, or are they just
completely? You have some ideas, but you get a little bit of warning. But the actual amount of material, the way it hits the magnetic field, you can't predict it exactly. So it's So
what is something Borealis? Or what's the name? The actual that. scientific technical name?
Aurora Borealis. Aurora Borealis. That's
that
the
the
northern lights. So Aurora is the lights, and Borealis is northern. So in the southern hemisphere, they have Aurora Australis. So
Are they as good? I've never heard about them.
yeah, it's harder to get there because there's not as much land around the South Pole. So like, even I think they're pretty rare, even in like South Africa's not far south enough. New Zealand's not far south enough. So it's really Patagonia.
Patagonia is a place too.
Yeah, Patagonia is probably the only real place where you can see
Argentina.
Yeah.
The Southern Ocean. I don't know a lot about it, but every time I hear, I'm like, man, that is a desolate place.
It's way out there, that's for sure. Yeah, or in Antarctica if that's the only other place that you go. But you also have to be there in winter to see it. So
coolest place you've been in the whole world?
Coolest place I've been in the whole world. Hawaii is pretty good. It's hard to beat Hawaii. Man, that is tough. I'm a big fan of national parks. I'm a big hiker. So
explore our country first.
And I love our country. We're going around to see all these different parks. That's one of the best things about the United States. And in no particular order, Crater Lake, Oregon, awesome. Yosemite, California, awesome. Grand Canyon, awesome. Glacier National Park. You
love them all. It's just the West is just incredible.
The West is. I'm a West. I think that's where my heart is, in the West. I like mountains a lot. So
maybe that's where you retire.
I got a little place around Flagstaff I'm looking at.
Oh.
Sedona, Flagstaff area. Make some room for me. I'm hoping to volunteer at the Lowell Observatory when I come out there. So yeah.
And what do you know? Real estate and astronomy come together to wrap it up.
You guys know some people in Flagstaff? Maybe hook me up.
I actually have a guy. So after this, if you want him, I got a guy. Yep.
All right.
So thanks, man. This is I like when I selfishly am interested in something that I don't have a lot of information about, but I'm intrigued. So I think all of us think your thing is cool. Astronomy is just cool and special, and it probably has impacts on us way beyond what we can even comprehend.
Yeah, and I feel very lucky that I found this as as an accidental job. I mean, this is the fact that I ended up in this is crazy, and I've tried to make the most of it and really embrace it. And that's what I hope is that, like, as I share more of my story, that can maybe help people find their own paths and find the stuff that really they genuinely love and have passion for.
Thanks for helping us make our wonderful city that we love better. I think these things, these individual pieces of the culture and the thing that evolves, man, I just every time I come back here, it's home, but it just feels like we have the right combination of special things. Mm-hmm. It just is. And Dean's a big part of it. So thanks, man.
Hey, thank you.
So the last book, I mean, I'm not a big promoter of all sorts of things, but you did just write this book about the 1,000 objects in space. What's the official name of it? The National Geographic
1,000 Facts About Space. Through National Geographic. And wherever you get your books, check it out. On Amazon, it's on local books around here too. Wherever you get your books, check it out. It's a fun read. It's for kids, but really for adults too, because you can pick up a new page, learn a new fact every day.
Is it on Audible or no?
I don't know,
okay.
Actually.
All right.
It might not be.
If it is, you didn't record it. So
no, it doesn't have my voice on it. Yeah, that's true.
All right, man. Well, again, thanks for coming in. I loved it, and maybe we're going to have to take him up on getting up to the observatory and cranking on a wooden telescope that I'd have no idea. I'd probably break it.
No, it'd make some good audio, too, of how the dome moves and everything like that.
I'd build some content.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Hey,
much
my pleasure.
appreciated.
Keep looking up.
Yeah, man. Look at this, huh?